Creatives have been looking for a speech-to-text solution that can be integrated into their NLEs for years. Many companies have tried various solutions, and they work for certain applications, but most have languished in mediocrity, especially when it comes to high-end production. Oh yes, Siri may be our best friend during rush hour in the car, but does she have the stamina to handle the rigors of post-production? Last week, Google announced another player in the field with a new version of their web speech API. Philip Hodgetts, Metadata Guru and co-founder of both Lumberjack System and Intelligent Assistants, is an expert on most things technical. He joins me today to peek under the hood so we can get a closer look and figure out whether or not this might be helpful to our upcoming projects. This is Cirina Catania for USTimes wondering, what does Google have in store? Philip, good morning.
Good morning.
There was an announcement yesterday about the new Google Cloud Speech API. What is that?
Well, an API is an application programming interface. Basically, it's a set of features that anybody can access across the web simply by doing the right, sending the right message to the API and interpreting the right message when it comes back. What Google announced was an API for speech to text, and this is, of course, the holy grail for documentarians who do lots and lots of interviews and are currently paying for transcripts. To be able to do this automatically is something that we've all wanted for quite some time. And as soon as we get any announcement about speech to text or including transcripts in Lumberjack as we did last year or anything like that, it's like, oh, do you mean this is going to give me a speech to text and give me automatic transcripts? And no. Unfortunately, there's not really been an easily accessible API for third parties to use. There are generally accepted two really good speech-to-text technologies out there. One is Google. You may have remembered that a couple of years ago, Google had a Goog 411 information service. They used that largely to get a lot of voice samples, and that those voice samples were then used to build this speech-to-text engine that they use across the entirety of the Google product range. Similarly, the other really good speech-to-text engine is the Nuance engine. It powers the Dragon natural speaking applications. It also is the speech-to-text component of Apple's Siri and Apple's dictation. These two companies, Google and Nuance, have generally accepted the best APIs for translating speech to text of anyone in the world.
My question is, how accurate is this Google Cloud Speech API really going to be? Because honestly, Dragon is difficult for many of us to use. Siri, if you try to dictate into Siri and do speech to text, is not often very accurate. So is the Google API going to be better?
They're about the same. The Google API and the Nuance API algorithms are about the same stage in their development. They're both fairly mature. They'll both get about 80% right, but they will get spectacular errors as well. Mm-hmm. There was a Facebook meme going around in the last week about the inventor who had a graveyard scene, and the inventor of autocorrect died. May he restaurant.
My goodness, Philip. I want to see that.
Avid licensed technology from Nexidia, which is a different type of technology at all. It is not speech to text in any way, shape, or form. What Nexidia's technology does is allow you to predict the waveform of a particular word or phrase, and then it goes looking through all of the audio for that matching waveform. At no point does it ever try and bring that waveform, the audio waveform, into any sort of understandable text. So Avid were using that to automatically align voice materials, transcripts, and interviews and narrative material with a script automatically. Avid have the script alignment patterns themselves, but they're using Nexidia for the automatic alignment. You can still line it up manually, but at the moment, Nexidia's technology is not available to Avid's current users.
Are any of the other NLEs going to be able now to use Google Cloud Speech? Are the developers going to at some point be able to integrate that? What do you see for the future?
Well, let's put some reality breaks on this. Currently, the Google API is limited to 2-minute chunks. That's the maximum you're able to send. It's a very limited beta at the moment. You have to apply, and then they have to decide that you're important enough to get in. It will, of course, be opened up to more people later on. Whether or not they will open up to longer chunks of speech, that's another question altogether. It's possible that we could jury rig a system that took long interviews and cut them down into 2-minute segments and then stitch them back together. But that would be a real workaround that the third party would have to do. So it's an exciting step. The fact that that API is available at all, or will become available at all, is very exciting. That it's got its own limits, it makes me a little less excited about its application for anything that we might do. Yeah. I mean, I would love in Lumberjack to be able to say, transcribe this for me. And so it would transcribe, and who knows what you can do once you've got a transcript. I mean, come to NAB and you might find out something exciting.
So our transcription services have really nothing to worry about at the moment, but possibly in the future.
Most of the transcription services are already using a combination of automatic transcription, machine-driven, and human correction. 3Play Media, for example, out of Boston do that. They have a machine translation, but then they make sure that humans correct it after the fact before you get it back, which is like human transcription is fairly, intensive, people-intensive, and that's always expensive.
Well, Philip, anything else that we think we should cover right now before I let you go? I know you have a very busy day. You are running not one, but 2 companies.
This is going to happen. I mean, we are going to get to a point where there are viable speech-to-text engines available that we can then put all sorts of natural language processing onto so that we can start to derive meaning and keywords out of the speech. When we'll get there and what steps we'll get to in what order, that's up to history to determine. At the moment, I'm just excited that there are 2 viable engines that are out there. The Nuance engine is licensed to Apple, and I think that's why it's not available to third parties, unfortunately. Otherwise, it would be nice to be able to say, well, here's Final Cut Pro 10, here's a speech API. I don't think Apple will put it into Final Cut Pro 10, and I don't think any other NLE will put speech-to-text in. The only NLE that tried it was Adobe. They licensed technology from Autonomy for Premiere Pro. Had a great promise, but again, many reasons why it didn't really reach the promise, and they've ceased licensing it and it's no longer available in Premiere Pro. Having tried it once, I doubt they'll probably go down the path of trying it again. But that was a really great integration of transcripts and narrative script into an NLE. I'd like to see more of it, but these are relatively narrow niche workflows, even though if you're in the middle of the documentary world, it seems like hundreds or thousands of people. But in the terms of the millions of seats of these NLEs that we're seeing, then there are quite small markets. Having been able to do it automatically is going to free up a lot of time. But it's not going to happen in the short term. It's an exciting development, and it's certainly one that we're watching, particularly in the Lumberjack system side. We have applied for access to the beta. Who knows if we will get it or not. But that's certainly part of what we're looking for Lumberjack, to be able to automatically do this so that we generate keyword ranges for people with the minimal amount of effort. That's always been our goal.
Well, I'm thinking that the transcript mode through Lumberjack system is going to put some pressure on these companies to make these APIs available to people who are working in the industries that really need them.
Yeah, well, from your lips to God's ears. I mean, maybe they should do this, but let's just wait and see. But certainly, you can rest assured that we will be constantly looking at this and finding a viable API that we can call.
As you know, I'm a big friend of Lumberjack and quite involved in it, so I do want to make that disclosure. But I have to say this is very exciting for the future because as someone who works in documentary filmmaking all the time, this speech-to-text is going to be very important for us in the future. We'll stay in touch with you, Philip, and hopefully there'll be some developments that you might want to update us on in the coming weeks. In the meantime, thank you so much. I'm speaking with Philip Hodgetts. He's the co-founder of 2 companies, Intelligent Assistance and Lumberjack, both of which are very successful providers of workflows for the film and television production world. Thank you for your time, Philip.
My pleasure. You have a great day, Cirina.
Thanks. That was Philip Hodgetts, co-founder of Lumberjack System and Intelligent Assistants, interviewing with me, Cirina Catania, for US Times. If you'd like to learn more about Lumberjack or Philip, go to lumberjacksystem.com. And if his predictions in this interview are correct, you may also want to visit FCP Exchange at the Renaissance Hotel in Las Vegas during NAB April 16th through 18th. You can find out more at fcpworks.com and be sure to visit us at USTimes.biz.